Hello everyone, today we have a run through Gold Conquest. Today we're going to be using the control build, the meta breaker that I posted a few days ago. A lot of people asked, whenever Spider-Man went from a 4 cost to a 5 cost, does he still make the cut? And I still think he is phenomenal in this deck. The utility and the lockdown component that he provides can win you so many games, especially when used in unison with a Gamora and a Kitty Pryde on the last turn. When used in unison with a Shang-Chi, with the Daredevil Reed, you can put your opponent into unwinnable positions incredibly often. And this is my go-to deck for running in Conquest mode right now, because it has counter components to both ongoing and high-powered cards. It has lockdown components, which allow you to beat those high-roll decks. And it has a really good consistency driver, and it has really good power output in most games. So I'm not going to break down the deck too much. I will leave a link to my previous video in the description below. If you want to check that one out, check out the deck further. But today we're going to be entering the Gold Conquest, and in it had some of the most intense battles I have ever had in Marvel Snap. There was some heartbreak, there was some ups, some downs. We poised some major comebacks, and overall we had to make some very tough decisions to find ways to win in multiple matches. And so we are going to go ahead and jump over into those games. I hope that you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think about the format. This one is a lot longer because a gold run is 3 battle mode matches. So if one drags out for very long, then the overall series takes a while. But let me know if you like the Conquest mode coverage. I think it's an entirely different element of strategy that goes into being good at Conquest mode. There are very similar elements, but now there is another layer and another thought process that goes into it once you know what deck the opponent is playing, and once you know their strategy and kind of how they play those cards. And so we're going to go ahead and jump over into the matches. I hope that you guys enjoy. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. Let's go ahead and jump on in. All right, first up we have Halo 9. The first location is the Pet Mansion. And so we would have to, if we would have played last turn, we would have had to play our cards there. But not knowing what the opponent has, I'm going to go ahead and just play our Jeff for now. We're going to get some information. Ooh, the Angela tells me it could be a bounce deck. It could be a control-heavy, like, Kitty Pryde deck. And since we don't have our Angela, it gets a little bit scary fairly quickly. We do have Spider-Man for a lock, but we don't have Daredevil. We don't have any other way to enable it just yet. Ooh, so the Angela, the Silk, and the Kitty Pryde. This could be the Silk deck that I featured recently. If so, bravo. Bravo. That deck does very, very well. All right. I'm sorry, Silk. You gotta go. 10 power's too much. We gotta take you out. Since we had initiative, I figured that may be one of our only chances to make that happen. Okay, so the Kitty Pryde, the Nebula. So it may be a little bit augmented from what I ran, but still, I think the shell or the idea or the core is very similar. Let's go Spider-Man into Throne Room. I think they only had a very light movement component. I don't think they have other movement cards. So I think Spider-Man locking... Oh. Should have moved one of our cards. I've already locked it in. We could have had the Miles plus the Gamora, which is your ideal last turn. Unfortunately, I didn't move one of my cards, so we don't have the Miles anymore. I would have moved Nightcrawler. It's a tough road out here, guys. Titania comes down. Kind of tough to navigate, right? We have this lane pretty heavily locked. Man, I am so sad that I didn't move a card last turn. We're going to go with the Gamora, the Jeff. I think we can lock this one in, whether they have the Titania or not. I don't think they have an... Oh, they have a Gamora of their own. Oh, no! Well, but... The Kitty Pryde, I think, is going... Or the Titania, I think, is going to stab them in the back. Titania will come our way, give us that 4-point victory, allowing us to hold down 2 of the 3. Titania is one of those cards that it can win you games. You have to be very, very mindful of how and when and where you play it. So we will take the 2 cubes. And funny enough, had we had Miles Morales, we wouldn't have been able to do that. They would have had Titania on their side. They would have had the lead. Go ahead and jump over into the next battle. All right, so Machine World. So any cards played there, we will get a copy of. So if they want to really enable their Silk, they're going to have to really work for it. So we know a good chunk about their deck. We know they have the Gamora, the Angela, the Titania, Nebula, Kitty Pryde. a little bit lower curve than the one that I went with, but I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. We have our Angela here. They could have Angela plus Kitty Pryde if they happen. No, Angela plus Nebula. Okay. I don't think with how common Kitty Pryde is, I don't know that Nebula is the ideal play or the ideal line. Also, Professor X is great. Is a great counter against Silk. And Silk adds just a little bit of controlled chaos. Okay, the Goblin is interesting for the Angela lane. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to overcome that, but it is what it is. All right. How do we ever financially recover? I don't know that we do. Let's just play Enchantress into Limbo. We're in a free fall right now. Next turn, we're either going to get one of our cheap resources, so like Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler Jeff, so one of our movable ones, so we'll be able to play for the Tinker's Workshop lane and then eventually move it out. No, we won't because of the Titania. That does make a little bit more sense as far as why they had the Titania built into their deck, because now they can bounce it around the board as needed. So impressive, very impressive. They're not going to get the Professor X lock or read here. Let's go with the good old Professor X into Machine World. I don't think they're going to give us a copy. So I think they're playing for Limbo this turn, or Tinker's Workshop makes sense as well. So I don't think they were going to play for the Machine World location. So we will lock it down. They can always move their Jeffrey out and over. We have one more chance after this turn to draw our Jeffrey. We'll see if we can do it. I don't know that we can. Let's go with a Spider-Man lock in Limbo and really, really try to control what they can do. So if they don't have a control element of their own, they're going to be restricted to just doing like Kitty Pryde in the Tinker's Workshop on the last turn. And we have the 1 out of 3 shot of drawing into our Jeff as well. I don't know. They do know that we have Jeff slotted in our deck, so they know that that's a possible play. We might be able to bluff them out of it if we get a successful Spider-Man lock here. Okay, so the Gamora comes down perfectly fine. If we can draw Jeff, that is a beautiful draw because we have the Shang-Chi Jeff coming in to save the day. That's going to be a snap. Now they're going to have to make now they're going to have to try to decide, are we bluffing or do we actually have it? They're going to be able to do Kitty Pryde plus something and move Jeff over. We have the Shang-Chi to take out their Gamora. I was hoping we could persuade them into the 4-cube loss instead. We will take the 1 cube. Let's jump over into the next one. This one's a pretty back and forth, maybe not back and forth so far, but it is very calculated, I think is probably the best way that I can describe this one. Very calculated game. So they didn't play Kitty Pryde on turn 1, I don't think. I honestly didn't see, so I don't know. Let's go ahead and play the Angela into this last location. We'll see. We'll see if we have anything. I guess we could have moved our Nightcrawler, and we would have been able to do the Miles Morales into Eternity range to try to find a way to make sure that that one is locked in for us. Oof. Okay. We will do the Nightcrawler to move into Danger Room. We do have both of our locks. We don't have our early game cards, unfortunately, but we have both of our locks, which I think should allow us to find ways to win. Oh, this hand has not been kind to us, but I'm going to do the Enchantress into the Bifrost. We don't have Professor X, or we don't have Daredevil to get the read. They do. Oh, no. I think we just retreat out here. Like, I don't think we even pity them with a play. I think that Miles is definitely one cost. We get our Daredevil a turn too late. We're going to shoot our shot. We're going to try and lock it in. We'll have 14 power after Professor X, so if they have Gamora, plus they move their Jeff into the Bifrost, we can't beat them. Otherwise, I think it gives us maybe an okay shot. It gives us a Shang-Chi to use. It'll enable a cheaper Miles Morales. If that's the line we want to go with. I don't know that it is either, though. All right, and so they did a late snap. They took almost the entire turnaround and then snapped, I think hoping to lull us into staying there. We will go ahead and take the tactical 1 cube retreat rather than probably a 2 or 4 cube loss. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next round with them. And this is round 4, so starting next turn, we will be into high stakes. this game, we do finally have our Kitty Pryde and Angela in our starting hand. We also have a Spider-Man for that lock component. And so we are going to double down here. We're going to play it a little bit more aggressively because we have the components that we need. If they try to lock us out of a lane with something like Titania plus Green Goblin, we do have the Kitty Pryde for that protection so that it can't be fully locked until the end of the game. And we do have Fisk Tower, so they're Silk. Fisk Tower is Silk enemy number 1. We're going to go ahead and play the Kitty Pryde. Next turn, we can do the Angel plus Kitty Pryde. They didn't do theirs on the first turn, interestingly enough, that they snapped back without having that in their opening hand. I'm guessing the rest of their hand looks pretty solid, but not having that, I think is going to be a big issue. Let's go ahead and play our Angela, our Kitty Pryde. They have Daredevil, so they will get the read, and so maybe that's why they snapped back, knowing that we wouldn't get a comfortable lockdown. The Isle of Silence, we won't be able to do Professor X there, but I think we're going to have a big enough lead in maybe Fisk Tower that maybe it won't matter. Maybe we're going to be able to Professor X lock regardless of what they play, but I don't know that for sure. And it could be safer for us to do something like Spider-Man so that we can lock down a lane and still invest resources there later. I do wish we would have drawn our Daredevil. There's nothing worse than trying to do a lockdown deck versus another Daredevil deck and they get theirs and you don't. And so how do they play this one? They can definitely lock this one in. Let's go Spider-Man into Fisk Tower. They could do Gamora, giving them an extra 12 power here. But we have our Kitty Pryde, we have Gamora as well, so we'd be able to do Kitty Pryde and then Gamora somewhere else. We could also do something like Shang-Chi. Let's go with the Spider-Man lock. They're not going to be able to slow play this one this time around because they have already snapped in, so they're not going to be trying to lull us into any kind of false sense of security. There's no benefit for them taking longer here. So they do play for the Vibranium Mines. We haven't seen them play any kind of lockdown card this far. There are 3. They do have a Professor X of their own. There are 3 cards of theirs that we have not seen. Professor X was one of them. And so now we have this lane comfortably locked in. Do they have a counter component? And we also need to remember that they played their Kitty Pryde 1 turn later than what we played ours. So if they do their Gamora here, I assume they move Jeff to try to make sure they lock in this location. If they could do their Gamora plus their Kitty Pryde, ours should come out on top by 2. That is what I assume happens. They played an extra card here. That is not what happened here. They could have do they have a counter? Do they have the Shang-Chi? Beautiful, beautiful hidden resource from Halo 9, swinging the game back in their favor. That is one of those big power plays that we didn't know they had the Shang-Chi. We didn't know that was one of their resources. And so now if we're going to make a comeback, it is much more difficult. Every single game is the potential of life or death. And that was a very well hidden Shang-Chi. I should have realized, I should have assumed that they had it, but we didn't. I'm guessing the last card now is Chavez for that consistency driver for them to draw into the key resources they need. I'm really surprised that they have the Silk though. The Silk honestly doesn't, other than just being a 2/5, it doesn't really give them much advantage in this match. Go ahead and play the Kitty Pryde, the Nightcrawler. We're going to prioritize getting our cards out early and often. They get their Angela, but they haven't started enabling their Kitty Pryde yet. Can we see Daredevil so that we can get a better lockdown read? Oh, no. Hey. We're going to do Jeff and Kitty Pryde. No Daredevil yet. It has been, I think, the last 3 rounds. No Daredevil on our side. They had one on theirs. And it could still be the case here. The Nebula now makes a little bit more sense as well with the Professor X, being able to have that scaling power. Now, I don't think they're going to have a way to clear this void. We also have our Shang-Chi, which is beautiful against this. Okay, we finally got a little bit of upside, you guys. I think we now have a very comfortable way to hold down the Grand Central location. We have the Shang-Chi to take out their Sentry, so that no longer becomes a question mark. We are going to skip and we're going to opt to... actually, no. We're going to do Kitty Pryde this turn. I thought about doing... Yeah, never mind. Yeah, we're going to do Shang-Chi. I went back and forth. On it, but I like the idea of taking out this one just as quickly as possible and then going from there. They have the double tandem of the Green Goblin and the Titania, but since we have the movable resources, it's not going to be a hard set lockdown. Let's go with our Professor X. They might go Professor X here, but we're going to go Professor X into Grand Central. I don't think they have a way to overcome it. We moved our Nightcrawler, so our miles will be a 1 cost. And so we could do Kitty Pryde, Miles, and Enchantress on the last turn as our enablers. And then if we need a little bit of extra reach in Grand Central, then we do have the ability to move our Jeff. They can move theirs over as well. I don't think they're going to have a way to come back from -7. However, Gamora there, if they had the heads up, they didn't have the Daredevil read, but if they had the heads up play, what do they play into Grand Central? Ooh, Shang-Chi. Okay, we're fine with Shang-Chi. Wait, why did they play the Shang-Chi? Just for tempo, I guess? We're okay with that. We know that they don't have Shang-Chi. We don't have Shang-Chi either. This is too much for us to overcome. If they have a Gamora, I think that's a wrap. I think that's all she wrote for us. Really? Okay. We will take the 2 cube. We are still in this battle. It's a very back and forth, though. Not all of the games last this long, but since this is a higher tier above Proving Grounds, I don't want to give up my ticket just like that. So I want to try this one all the way through the end. So it's one of those where I'm going to try and stage a comeback. The Shang-Chi counter was... Oh, we should have known that it was there. Unfortunately, I didn't play heads up enough. We lost that 7 cuber, giving them a really big lead, a really big advantage. Good thing with Nebula, instead of letting it scale, we'll be able to play Kitty Pryde there. The Silk into Sanctum Sanctorum can be pretty interesting. We haven't seen Silk, but I think this is maybe the one game where it's valuable. We have the chance or the opportunity to just save our Jeff, and then we can play it into the Sanctum Sanctorum. If they're relying on Silk being stuck here, then we can... Oh, well. Their Nebula just got... Oh my gosh, what is this game? Oh my gosh. Okay. Good thing we have our Kitty Pryde. They're not going to be able to lock us with something like the Titania or the Green Goblin. But these locations are just abysmal. They have their Nebula, which is great in the Miniaturized Lab. Bravo on that one. Ugh, all of these are just rough. We could play our Jeff now. Stop this from scaling. Do I want to, though? I really like the idea of being able to counter their Silk by playing Jeff directly into the Sanctum Sanctorum. This is only going to stop it from scaling 1 turn. I'm going to play Jeff into the Angela lane. It is what it is. They have the Daredevil. I still have not seen my Daredevil. I think they stole my Daredevil. I bet we draw it here. Just to, like, spite us. I think we draw it here. We're going to pull our Kitty Pryde back in. They could do a Professor X lock and really lock in some of these resources. I'm going to move our Nightcrawler. I know that he would get 1 additional here, but I like... Actually, no. We have the 11 power Kitty Pryde plus the Gamora that we're going to lean in on instead. Let's do this. We'll let Nightcrawler scale 1 additional time here. Now, they could have a Silk that bounces over into Muir Island. A lot of scary things. A lot of scary possibilities. These locations are tough. And against such a similar deck, which I think they took out the Kraven, and they added in the like Nebula, Titania, Green Goblin. So they also took out the Polaris. And so they went with a very similar shell. Like this shell is just so strong. And they beat. And they beat the Spider-Man lock though. Our Jeff's going to be 5, Nightcrawler 4. And so then we can always move those into Sanctum Sanctorum. And we push for the other 2 locations. We could also do a Shang-Chi here and take out their Angela. We do get the second 2 cube retreat, and so we are still alive. 2 more, and we are back in this. 2 more, and we will have staged our comeback. We get our Daredevil. This is beautiful, you guys. It may not make a difference because we don't have Kitty Pryde. I like to think that it will, though. I do get their Nebula again. Nebula is one of those that's just kind of frustrating. It's a card that's just kind of frustrating, just a little frustrating. All right, let's do our Angela, and then we'll do Daredevil. I think we're gonna do Angela into a Teal'c. That way we can try to Spider-Man lock one of the other. We should have done it at this unknown location. What are we thinking? That way we can try a Spider-Man lock one of the other ones. The vault will lock down on 6, and then we'll try and make it where they can't play on the final turn of the game. Ooh, we do get our Kitty Pryde, which is beautiful because the Teal'c will shuffle these cards. Kitty Pryde stays on the board. Phenomenal value for us. Exactly what we want to see. Their Nebula no longer becomes as important here because we could do a really big Kitty Pryde and Bar Sinister. Ooh. Okay, well. Or we could not. Rude. Bar Sinister's gone. There's no competing for Bar Sinister anymore. We have to win the other 2 locations. This may be where we fall. This may be the last of it. That is just too much to overcome. We have no way to destroy those, no way to move them. Ugh. Makes me sick. We get Gamora, which is a good resource for us. I am starting to wish we played Angela over here now. All right, let's Enchantress into the vault. We have to prioritize playing over there. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Okay, the Silk makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes a lot of sense. The Titania is going to move the Silks around the board. Ugh. But there's a chance that they always go back into Bar Sinister, and that's just where they stay. They have initiative, and so we can make sure that Silks cannot be in here by playing the last card into the vault location. That will be the last card that we play is in the vault to bounce the Silks anywhere else but here. And so Silk is one of those that it's a lot of power, but it's also uncontrollable chaos sometimes. If ever there was a time for Daredevil to prove his power, prove his worth, it is right here, right now. They're going to lock this in. This is 10, 11, 12. This is 15. We get the Gamora. That's all we need. That's beautiful. All right. We have this locked in. We have this cinched. The Professor X is going to secure the chaos, but we will come out over the top of it. Courtesy of the Gamora play. Beautiful value. It now comes down to the last game of the series. After losing a big 6 or 7 cube early on, we are holding in there. It is now down to the final showdown, the final match. This has been a grueling battle. This is exactly what I would expect from the Conquest mode, and as you get higher, I would expect these games to happen more and more frequently. This is where it ends. This is for all of the marbles. This is for all of it. Camartage, big for Gamora, big for their Gamora, not big for their Green Goblin. Let's see. We don't have our Angel. We don't have our Kitty Pryde. Gets a little scary. Ooh, the Superflow can get interesting. And if they get too much power in Weir Island, right now, oh, there we go. There's our lock component. Even if they end up getting like a Daredevil on the board, since we can drop our lock on turn 4 instead of on turn 5, we get some great value out of it. They do get the Daredevil down, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate, my friend. We now get Kitty Pryde. I think it's a touch too late. The natural location to do the Professor X lock is in the Superflow, but I feel like they're going to anticipate that. And so we're going to lock in Camartage instead. Trying to get in their mind. It's always great to lock in Superflow. Trying to get inside their head a little bit here. I think they play for Superflow this turn. Oh, they don't. Rude. You're a rude person. You're a rude person, Halo 9. That should be game. That should be game. They can't play for Camartage. We will make sure we move our Jeff into Camartage to protect from the Jeff play. They're gonna lock in, or I guess we're gonna lock in the Superflow, right? This was 8 rounds of just rigorous attempts at a comeback. I don't know what they reacted to. I'm assuming it's the Spider-Man, though. They could do Gamora here, but we do have Shang-Chi, thankfully. They could move their Jeff over here as a way to try and combat against whatever we have. But I think I think we poised a major comeback against Halo 9. All right, so they do a Gamora. Big, very big. And then the Nebula. Okay, the Nebula is not so big. I assume that they assume we're moving our Jeff. So there is some like small mind game that we could try to play with moving our Jeff here instead, assuming that they do theirs there as well. But I don't think we need to, right? So this will be 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even if they move their Jeff over, we can win this lane. We're going to move ours just in case. The Shang-Chi should allow us to secure the very, very tough, very tough battle. Halo 9, this was fantastic. If the Infinite Tier Gauntlet is anything like this, I can't wait. I cannot wait until that opens up. They do go with the mind games that I thought they might. And had this been a doubt, if it wouldn't have been able to be one like this, we would have tried to make that same decision. So that was incredibly close. Fantastic match. Halo 9, I look forward to matching against you again in the future. We will go ahead, and that was the first match. Let's go ahead and jump over into the second. All right, next up we have Ninja Hawk 123. And this being gold, I imagine the stakes become a little bit more real in most games. And so they're going to snap probably more aggressively. They're going to play it more strategically. Now, I think we can do something pretty cool here. With the Nova, I imagine this is a Sarah counter, a Sarah tech deck. So what we can do is we can control our initiative. We can do Kitty Pryde and Space Throne. That's going to protect it from any kind of counterplay, and we'll be able to make sure we don't grab initiative each turn. Actually, this turn we do have it because of Nova. But being that, that's what I imagine this deck is. Which the Angela, I assume they probably have Kitty Pryde, maybe a Bishop. The Bishop goes, the Nightcrawler goes, that's fine. We're okay with the Bishop. We're okay with the Nightcrawler going. It's all about managing your initiative in this particular matchup anyways. I think I'm going to forego dropping the Kitty Pryde this turn. I think there's a world where they might drop Killmonger here. And just Killmonger. To try and take out oh no, the Sentinel. Okay, no. That gives them initiative that allowed us to play a little bit more strategically. I thought they would try and snipe the Kitty Pryde while they did have initiative. But they did not. That is not what they ended up going with. All right. Let's go Angela, Kitty Pryde. I feel kind of bad for skipping last turn now. We are filling out their deck, but I have a pretty good idea just about everything that I think this entails. If they do the Kitty Pryde this turn, I'm going to be so sad. No, they don't. So Scarlet Witch and then a Sentinel. Okay, Scarlet Witch and Sentinel makes sense. You won't be able to play your first card here each turn, so our Angela becomes much less efficient or effective. So I think I'm going to Spider-Man over Professor X. And I have a weird play that I'm thinking might work to counter a potential Killmonger. It's going to lock their Nova in place. And so they just do the Sentinel. I think we should get initiative here. We probably should have snapped when we identified exactly what deck they had. The Spider-Man comes down. They have initiative though, so they will be able to destroy the Nova if they end up wanting to. But they did retreat, but we did have the Kitty Pryde. I think what we were going to end up doing was Kitty Pryde here. We were going to fight for this location. Kitty Pryde here, an Enchantress plus a Miles Morales would give us a pretty big lead in Morag, and we were able to hold down the one. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next battle. And so round 2, we have a really good idea. We only saw 4 of their cards, as you can see below, but I have a very, very good idea of what's in their deck. Now, for them, Dark Dimension is probably, if I was them, that's where I would hide my Killmonger. And so that is going to restrict them to playing their Kitty Pryde there as well. Now, having the Death's Domain, having Jeff be able to move over there, being able to play for it with something like Professor X, I think is going to be pretty big for us. It also corrals them into having to play their Kitty Pryde here until they drop it into Dark Dimension, which I think they ultimately will do. I want to do Nightcrawler, but we also want to be mindful of our priority and of our initiative. I don't have any huge cards here. And we are wanting to go on turn 4 or on turn 5 like a Spider-Man or a Professor X if we can. And so let's do the Angela, the Nightcrawler. Spider-Man now no longer pulls into Astronym, which is pretty cool. It also no longer gets pulled by Magneto, is important to know. I made the mistake one time. That's all that it's going to take to course correct my behaviors that one time, learning my lesson. We get Professor X, which is huge. We have the Daredevil read. I think we'll be able to lock in Death's Domain. And with that, we will have initiative as well going to the last turn of the game. So they drop their Sarah. Shang-Chi is something that we definitely want. I don't know that we can do it, though. All right, let's lock in the Death's Domain. The Professor X, the Nightcrawler. That also will enable our Miles into the game, so a Gamora plus a Miles on the last turn. Let's go ahead and snap into it. We have a pretty good read on what they have. I think we have a slight advantage over this deck just in general, but I assume they have probably Mysterio and Hitmonkey as well to have that kind of last turn burst of power. But in this game or this particular match with the Professor X, it's not gonna help them here. They can do some pretty good reach in Asteroid M. Where do we want to fight our stuff? Like if we didn't have initiative here, I think the Shang-Chi gives us the win. That just gives it away. This gives us quite a bit of power, but it's also susceptible to them just bursting the board. And their Kitty Pryde, honestly. If they did use Killmonger here, then they'll have to play Kitty Pryde behind it in Dark Dimension, meaning that they can't play it into Asteroid M. I think we're going to fight for Asteroid M. It may be the wrong call, depending on if they have a Shang-Chi or not. I feel like Killmonger is hidden in Dark Dimension. Nova comes down. The Killmonger was not hidden in Dark Dimension, but that's perfectly fine. They get a pretty big burst buff into Asteroid M, but that's not going to be able to hold us down. That's not going to be able to stop us. We should have the 4 cube, leaving them with just, I believe, 4 cubes after all is said and done. We are able to hold it down, even though their Bishop, their Sarah, their Killmonger get pretty large. We are able to hold it down. They have 5 cubes left. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next battle. Okay, so we start with Angela, but no Kitty Pryde still. Against like a Sarah tech or Sarah counter, you have to be able to manage who reveals first and play with that in mind, because if you don't, you can end up losing your Kitty Pryde, losing your resources without necessarily meaning to. New York is kind of a cool location. If we draw into Professor X, we can lock it in, and I assume they'll play wanting to move their cards over. And we're going to try to make sure that they can't do that. We now get our Nightcrawler, which is, it's okay, but it's not huge. Unless we do a Professor X lock, it's not guaranteed to stay in on the board even. We know that Space Throne, for them wanting to flood quite a few cards on the last turn, is not great. They probably eventually maybe Scarlet Witch change it. That's what I would imagine they would do, just because it's a pretty tough location for them to hold down. We get our Enchantress. Nothing big here. Unfortunately, we don't have a lock, so we don't have Spider-Man. We don't have Professor X. It's kind of scary. We can do Gamora into Stark Tower, but that leaves us open to Shang-Chi plays. Okay, so they play several cards here. The Hitmonkey comes down. The Sentinel comes down. I wish we had Professor X. Because that would lock them to just 1 card on the last turn. We could lock it in here. Unfortunately, it does not. So I think we're going to Gamora. We're going to move our Nightcrawler. That enables a cheap Miles Morales. Their Kitty Pryde will be within Shang-Chi range. They won't have initiative going to this last turn, will they? No, with us having New York, they're not going to have initiative. I plan on retreating out, whether they snap or not. I think we're going to retreat out here. We're susceptible to too many of their common plays. We're susceptible to 1, them moving cards into New York. We're susceptible to a Shang-Chi. Whether we move our Gamora or not, there's the chance that they swing that back in their favor. We can't do a Shang-Chi of our own to take out their big resources because their Kitty Pryde will pull back in. And our Kitty Pryde was nowhere to be seen. Oddly enough, almost every single game, you should see one of these But in this one, we have 3 cards left, and the cards left are Kitty Pryde and our lockdown components. Definitely not ideal. Let's go ahead and retreat out. With initiative, we just, there's not enough we can do. I don't think it's worth the additional gamble. All right, we do get our Professor X, and we get our Kitty Pryde this time around. And so we're feeling pretty solid, feeling pretty confident. With the Professor X lock, that gives us a lot of information. It gives us a lot of lockdown component, especially with them having Hitmonkey and some of those other cards. Olympia, we draw into additional cards. So now we have our Daredevil. I think with our Daredevil, I don't think we can be beaten. We're gonna go ahead and snap into it. I think we have a slight advantage, even if they try to grab initiative. We're pretty comfortable in the cards that we do have available. So they get their Angela. Okay, I'm sure they have their Kitty Pryde as well. Dream, oh, that's awful. Dream Dimension is so bad for us. Oh no, we still don't have Angela either. Interesting. So Dream Dimension is bad. The reason Dream Dimension is so bad, we can't play our lockdown cards. Locking down one of the lanes against this deck is very, very strong. I'm surprised they didn't counter snap and just snap back when they saw Dream Dimension come down. That was as good of a time for them to snap back as ever. Angela, the Bishop. I'm just going to do our Nightcrawler here. I think we have initiative, so I think they probably Killmonger. No. I keep thinking they're going to preemptively Killmonger, and they don't. Wait. Beautiful. Thank you, Ninja. Thank you, Ninja Hawk. You did us a huge solid. We'll be able to tell where you play this turn. This is kind of silly to snap here, but okay. They have the Sarah come down. Perfectly fine. All right, we're just going to do the Professor X for now. Strange Academy is going to make sure that we have the cheap miles because Nightcrawler is going to move into Olympia, and then we still have the freedom to move it back if we need additional space. The Professor X lock is going to guarantee that their cards can't move over from Strange Academy, so Olympia is going to be capped out. Hopefully Scarlet Witch is what goes over there, and we can just steal this 4-cube game away. No, it is the Bishop, so at least that one is going to scale for them. But what do we have to do? 3? They can do a max of 3 power here, right? 3 extra power, so 15, 16, 17, 18. And then if they did Nova and Killmonger, the max would be 22, and that's if everything was perfect. The max would be 22. Can we beat 22 as is? I don't think we can, and so I think what we're going to do instead, we just beat whatever their high roll is. Do we move Jeff into Jotunheim just for safety? I don't know if they have a Jeff or not. Is my hesitation here. What is their other strategy? Okay, maybe we do Gamora, Miles. We do move Jeff over in this. This will be way more than 12. Can they beat 12 on this last turn? Things like Hitmonkey. We don't know what their last card is. I assume it's Chavez? I don't know if they have Jeff, so I am going to play our Jeff into Jotunheim instead of over into... It may come back to bite us. Ooh, they do have the Shang-Chi, they have the Nova, they have the Killmonger. So I am glad that we didn't fight for Olympia. We were fighting for Strange Academy instead. We made the right decision, allowing us to secure the win for the series against Ninja Hawk. We will take the 5-cube. We lost one game to a tactical retreat where they just had a clear advantage, and the rest we were able to hold down with the restrictive nature of our control deck. Let's go ahead and take the 4-round victory in gold, 40 boosters for the Professor X, and with that one, we are going to move up into the final battle of our gold series for an infinite ticket. Let's go ahead and jump into the game. All right, next up we have Virtual Machine. We get Wave from Camp Lehi, and I don't believe there are any bots. I guess let me correct myself. After the first match, I don't believe there are any additional bots in a series or in a tier. So the devs said that the first match of each tier that you go into, so the first time you enter Proving Grounds, the first time Silver, the first time Gold, you will go against a bot. But after that, there should be no bots in the game. They did a Psylocke. I assume that this is a Mr. Negative deck, which is kind of wild. It has some incredible high roll. Since they have the Psylocke, I assume, oh no, a Wong. Ooh, I have never been so Wong in my life. We have the Kitty Pryde, we have the Daredevil, so we will be able to get a read on what they do. Maybe we can lock in this Necrotia lane before they do any of their big plays. We have our Jeffrey, we have our Kitty Pryde, and I'm going to go ahead and play our Nightcrawler as well. Just for an additional mechanic to move. I think we snap into this, right? If we snap next turn, they're much more likely to retreat. If we snap this turn, at least we get them to commit before our Daredevil read comes down. And so they snap back. Maybe they have something like a Black Panther into like an Arnim Zola. That's actually what I'm hoping for. I can Professor X lock this Necrotia lane and lock it in so that they can't get that card out of the location. They have a second Wong. 2 Wongs don't make a right, but maybe 3 do. What you got, Virtual Machine? What do you have for us? The magic comes down, but that is not the answer that they're looking for. And so now we would snap on this turn had we not snapped previously, but because we did, I think they hastily snapped back, and we are going to be able to benefit. Now we do have Enchantress, so we would have been able to cancel out these 2 cards anyways, but I really like the idea of locking it in, and then we'd only have to focus on 1 more location. So let's go with the Professor X lock. We move our Nightcrawler just so that it's not locked in Necrotia, and then we'll kind of adjust from there. I doubt that they can overcome setting up a big 4 times trigger of an on reveal and then it getting destroyed. And so we'll go ahead and play our Kitty Pryde one more time. I don't think they can win this one. I don't think they have a way to financially recover from that gap that they had. Yep, we do get the 4 cube retreat after the Professor X lock. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next battle. That gives us an early lead, which you don't want to be down in cubes early on, because then that gives the power to your opponent. They can snap more aggressively. I don't know, like on turn 1. Okay, it's not the worst thing. That could have been worse. We do have our Kitty Pryde, we have our Angela. But if you're the opponent and you're down cubes, you have to really start worrying about staying for those additional stake games rather than it being a surefire thing. We get Domino, we have our Angela, which is beautiful. That's why we snapped before. Let's just play Kitty Pryde. We have the ability to do Iron Fist this turn, but I like the idea of eventually doing Iron Fist into a card into the Angela lane, and it'll push it out. We have their Psylocke. I wonder if they have Mr. Negative. If so, then that's awful. Like, I'm sorry about you, my friend. Law is great for Necrotia as well. Beautiful value. Let's go with the Angela, the Kitty Pryde. We're going to make sure that this is protected because we are going to be ramping that location up dramatically. They have the Wong on 2 again? Virtual Machine. If you have your ideal line, bravo. Bravo. We have 1 way to lock it in, but the downside with this game is that we don't have the guarantee that they're not going to magic. They could have magic, which they could use on 5 again, and then our Spider-Man would be inefficient. No way, Virtual Machine. I am not buying this for a single second. What? I did say 2 Wongs don't make a right, but 3 could. If they have a Mystique and they go all in here, beautiful. I'm hoping they don't have a magic. They might. Okay, wait. Is that the third Wong? Is this the Mystique coming down? Please tell me it's a Mystique. Gambit. Oh, that is big, my friend. Oh, that is troublesome. Oh wait, never mind. No, it's not. Wakanda's fine. We're fine in Wakanda. I was scared for a second, but we're fine. They also lose like their entire hand. My gosh. All right. We're going to do the Kitty Pryde. We're going to do Claw, which should give us a lot of reach into Necrotia. I'm also, for giggles, just going to do our Mjolnir into the Angela lane to buff it up by 2 more. I think we should have this second game locked. Let's see. They didn't play anything in District X. If they can come over the top of us in Necrotia, that's a beautiful win. But that's going to have to be a big... Okay, no, the lady's safe. We're fine. We're fine. Is this a bot? I thought there was only bots in the very first match. I'm not convinced, Virtual Machine. Not convinced. But what I am convinced of is no matter what the location, we're going to turn 1 snap. We're going to make you fully commit to this game in this location. if you don't have the ideal hand, this is your last stand. This is the last chance. Now we know that the Gambit was in their deck, not in a District X version, because it is tracked down here. So that will tell us the cards that were in that deck. Ooh. I'm going to go ahead and play Daredevil into this unknown location. I like the idea of at least getting maybe one more into Game Lab, but I also want the Daredevil to give us that exact information, that exact read of if and where we can do a Spider-Man on the last turn, or on turn 5. And so we're going to make sure that Daredevil stays on the board. Vormir is interesting. Oh my gosh. These are definitely some locations. Good? I don't know. They're locations nonetheless. We're going to do something like this. I know that they have a Gambit. We're going to try to maybe lock this guy in and protect him before the Gambit comes down. Enchantress will be great. Maybe like Luke Cage, maybe for Wong. I'm going to save that for now. Do we miles? Do we waste our miles? You spend all of this time on airplanes, building up all these miles. Do you waste them just in Vormir? Just throw them away like that? We're going to throw miles away. I'm sorry, man. I've really enjoyed you lately. Like, you have come a long ways. You used to be very underutilized. And now with things like Silk, with things like Nightcrawler, Jeff, you're used very, very frequently. But this game, you are going to be dispensable. And so what do they play into Vormir? Gambit. Ooh, that's the Gambit, right? Okay, well, the Daredevil is fine. We're fine with the Daredevil. We don't have a read on this turn, unfortunately. I want to make sure they can't Odin this location. So I'm going to go ahead and Spider-Man lock Vormir. Because they've already played their Gambit. They could do, oh wait. They could do a Magic into Danger Room, yeah. No, Hazmat, okay. I don't know what they could have here. I don't know if it's going to be better to do Chavez somewhere. I'm going to do Enchantress, though, to take out their Luke Cage, just in case they do something like an Odin and they're going to try to overcome. Oh, no. No, we do get the retreat. We took too long. We get the retreat. And with that one, we clear the gold rank, the gold challenge, and that is going to be an infinite ticket. I'm going to be stockpiling these over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'm very much enjoying Conquest mode, but we do get our infinite ticket. That is going to be one beautiful entry. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed the run through the gold tier Conquest. Very much enjoying this mode. I have just a few silver tickets because I've been farming Proving Grounds. Just on my phone when I'm not really paying attention, I go all in. Turn 1 snap. If I win that first round, great. If not, then I retreat and then rinse and repeat, so I don't have to play as strategically. But since it's free to enter, that's the method I've been going with. I have a few stockpiled. We're going to go ahead and end the video there. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.